Great job. Thank you. And speaking of automotive, our next company currently counts giants such as Hyundai as one of their clients, as well as Comcast and many other high-profile customers. The Nylas API powers applications with email, calendar, and contacts that sync from any inbox in the world. To tell you all about how Nylas went from $0 to millions in annual revenue, please help me welcome to the stage co-founder and CTO, Christine Spang.
Hey everybody, y'all ready to hear a pivot story? Agenda for the next 10 minutes is I'm going to chat a bit about how we got Nylas off the ground. Then I'm going to tell you all about how we pivoted our business from an email client to an API platform. And then I'm going to share what our strategy is for growing the company now that we've found product market fit in a fast-growing product sector. I hope that those of you who are on your own startup journeys will learn something from hearing some of the struggles and challenges we've been through. Before we jump into the launch story, let me just give you a quick overview of what the product does. Our product is a suite of modern APIs, makes it easy to connect to the data and email, contacts, and calendar. It's a horizontal platform, and people are building all sorts of things on the platform. But the big picture of what they come down to is automating drudgery, bringing context together, and automating common workflows so that people can focus more on human-to-human interactions and less time on the details of what data they need. All right, let's talk about the very beginning. It was 2013, and I started the company with a friend of mine from MIT. The company was originally called Inbox because we're an email client, obviously. The thesis behind the company in the beginning was that email is hard to work with as a developer, and that's the problem we set out to fix. The first step of solving this problem was building an API abstraction that abstracted away 40 years of email protocol history and dramatically simplified the ability to integrate with email, contacts, and calendar. But our big vision in the future was to create an email client for power users that people could build integrations directly into. And I'll talk more about that later. We raised some seed funding around this idea, and in January of 2014, we rented our first office in the Mission District in San Francisco. It was a tiny little studio, and we managed to fit 6 desks in it and this huge couch from IKEA. We hired a couple friends of ours from MIT and got to work building the product. There were a lot of things that happened over that first year, and on this next slide, I share some of the milestones. The green dots here are internal milestones during that first year of the company, and the blue dots are some external events that happened that really freaked us out at the time when they occurred. We spent about 6 months getting the initial product put together, and right before we were about to launch it, Google launched a new API for Gmail called the Gmail API in beta. This really threw us off and freaked us out because we were building a REST API for every email provider, and we were worried about the competition. But we took a step back and figured that it was going to be important to have universal provider support, and we kept going and launched that API in the summer as an open source repo to get developer attention. And then later in the fall, we launched the hosted platform that we still run today. Another thing happened in October that really threw us off. Google released a new email client called Inbox, which was the same name as our company. We thought it was going to be really hard to compete with Google for SEO, so even though we were scared, we took a step back again, and what we ended up doing was just changing the name of the company, and that's how we became known as Nylas. We kept going, and in January of 2015, we were able to raise an $8 million Series A round with pitching the vision of this email client that we wanted to build as the next step of the company. It's really important to be gritty and stick through challenges when you're getting a company off the ground, because it's a roller coaster ride. There are going to be super, super high highs and low lows, and you got to stick through the lows in order to be with the company long enough to actually get it going. And we did stick with it, and we managed to build and launch the email client called Nylas Mail. It took us about another year, and we launched it in October of 2015. We were super passionate about this product, and we really believed that it was going to be the future of the company. And we spent a lot of time trying to make it work as a business. But as I'll talk about more in just a second, it didn't end up working out for us as a business, and we had to change course. In this next section, I'm going to be talking about the business metrics that we looked at and why we decided to change our course. To make sure that we're all on the same page, I'm going to run through a few of these key metrics just to make sure you know what they mean. There's churn, or how many of your customers that are customers today are customers still next month. There's customer acquisition cost, which is basically how much sales and marketing money you have to spend to gain a single new customer. Then there's lifetime value, which is the average amount of money that a single customer pays your company over the entire duration that they are a customer. And then there's net dollar retention, or if my sales team closes an account worth $1 today, in a year, how much will that account be worth? Now that we've got that out of the way, let's dive into the particular metrics behind the businesses. Why was Nylas Mail a bad business? What it came down to was churn. We were able to get hundreds of thousands of early adopters to download and try out the client when we launched it, but we couldn't get them to stick around. We were seeing 80% or more month-over-month churn. And if you have churn this high, none of those other metrics I mentioned matter at all. Retention is the very most key metric in any business. We are competing against free offerings from all of the email service providers themselves. And that meant it was hard for us to convert people who tried out the product into paying users. We are also a very small technical team, and we're trying to build multiple complex products at the same time. The API backend, the email client, and the beginnings of the plugin packages that we were hoping to build into a community. So that's why Nylas Mail didn't work out as a business. We tried really hard, but we couldn't make it work. So we turned around and took a look at the metrics behind the API platform, which luckily we had continued to sell and to grow on the back burner while we were focusing on building the client. The metrics we saw here were completely different. We were seeing less than 1% month-over-month churn. And when we looked at our customer acquisition cost and lifetime value, we saw that if we put $1 into the business, we could expect to get $12 out over the lifetime of that customer. This is a best-in-class metric for LTV to CAC ratio. When we looked at our net dollar retention, that was also really strong. We could put $1 in, or close $1 in sales, and in a year, expect that account to have grown to nearly $2. This is a cohort analysis graph, and each bar here shows a group of customers and how they grew over time. If these bars grow over time and don't disappear, they stack on top of each other and create a revenue chart that goes up and to the right, which is what investors want to see. If you have a graph that looks like this, don't wait as long as we did to put 100% of your effort behind that business. It's really rare to find a business that looks like this, and you should really take advantage of the opportunity. If you want to learn more about this metric stuff, you should definitely check out this talk by Brian Balfour, the former VP of Growth at HubSpot, called Growth is Good, but Retention is Forever. This wasn't an easy transition for us as a company. The email client was the passion project of my co-founder, Michael, and as a part of this pivot, he left the company. I'm really proud of how our team stuck together and got through a really hard time that for most companies would have resulted in death. So now that we've found a product that has product market fit, We're focused on growing that business and building as much revenue as we can. Today, we have hundreds of companies using our platform to power their products. Those business metrics that we went through still hold strong, and our team has grown to 50 people, and we have offices in San Francisco and New York. We're really focused on growing, and this chart continues to expand. The strategy that we've been using to grow our business, because of the metrics that we have, is a strategy I'll call land and expand. Because we can expect our customer cohorts to increase in size over time, we've focused on getting as many new businesses on the platform as possible, even if they start at our lowest developer plan. Because we can expect these customers to grow, and some portion of them will eventually become six-figure and enterprise deals.